Hello everyone and welcome back to Java course. In today's class, we are going to learn about writing our first program. Before we dig into that, let me first tell you about the code editors. I will make a separate video on different type of code editors, right from popular Visual Studio Code to Jupyter Notebook and all. But CodeMode, you have a full-fledged code editor, online code editor. So you really don't need to install anything locally, and you can learn Java or Python as part of this course on the platform right here. As you can see that the code editor, this block of code that we have created highlights, the code. This code was written on the platform itself, on CodeMode itself, and what you see here is embedded. You can see the color highlighting and all. And as I said, I'm not going to speak more about code editor itself, but just to let you know that you can write code, Java code, in a simple notepad, a text file or text editor in fact, or a full-fledged integrated development environment like Visual Studio Code or Jupyter Notebook or any online code editor like CodeMode. Now enough about the code editor. I also don't want you to learn immediately the details of each word that you see on the screen, like public, static, void, main and all. Now we will dig into it a little later. When you learn a little bit more about the access modifier, data types and all, then a lot of things will start making sense. For now, let's first understand what really a method is, what is an entry point in Java and all that. Okay. So I will, in this program, the first program that we are writing, we are going to print three statements. We'll say hello world, we'll say welcome to Java programming, we'll say the end, and finally the program will exit. So that when you see here on the screen, the main, this is the entry point of the code, and this is where the program will exit by performing these three simple instructions to print these three messages. Now, the main code here is this one, where we are saying that, we write a method. Now, what is a method and what is a class? So think of method and a class. Think of class as a building, or a home where you have multiple rooms. And I'm oversimplifying it, but the whole idea is this class, what we define in Java, is basically a logical grouping of code or instructions, and the class may have multiple rooms, what we refer as methods. Right now, any building or any home you enter has one entry point. Here you have one main gate where you enter the building, and then the gates can be connected. You may have other rooms here. The rooms are connected and all that part. So think of method as a room in a building, and as I said, the building is nothing but a class. So usually you write a code, you will say public class, some class name, the building name, let's say test one, and then you will put it in a curly braces like this. The curly braces basically tells you that anything inside this is part of this building. Now within that, you may have one or more method, which is like one or more rooms inside. The Java requires you to have at least one room in that building, and as you can imagine, you cannot construct a building without any at least one room, right? So same logic applies here in case of Java. The name of that building, name of the room is called main. So we say this room is publicly available. That means anybody can enter it. That means when Java program runs our code, Java program knows that the entry point is this method. Okay, and with this method is publicly accessible. That means Java program knows to enter the first entry point is this method. I'll talk more about methods and functions later in the class. But for now, understand that you write this standard text like public, static, void, name of the method is main, and this method takes an argument here, and you'll say a string, square bracket and args, So just remember right now for now, and then we will learn a little bit more when we learn about methods. Within that, we are using three print statements. One is system.out.println, and we are saying hello world. Anytime we want to print something back on the screen, we use this called system.out.println. And again, system.out.println, think of it as a command given to you by Java. And when you call this command and you pass a value, whatever string you pass, it will be outputted back on the screen. So suppose I want to print my own name, I'll say system dot, let me close this one. I'm gonna say system dot out dot print line, and then in the parentheses any message that I want to print. I can say I like Java, right? So this is how, and at the end of the statement you always put a semicolon. It is like a full stop or period in English. Java knows that when you put a semicolon at the end, that's the end of the instruction. That one line, that instruction is done, Java is going to execute that statement. You always use a pair of curly braces like this to enclose your a logic, to create a logical grouping of code. When you write multiple lines of code and you want to define a scope, like you want to say that these 4 lines of code is a block, then you define that block using curly braces. Learn more about it. Don't worry about if you don't understand some part of the code, but this is just to give you a primer on the entry point in Java. When you write a code, you write a public class, some class name, and inside that you write public static void main, string, square bracket, args, curly braces. Inside that you write some print statement, and that is how this is your first Java program. Go ahead and write this code in your editor. CodeMode has an editor you can play with. You should be able to go to the code editor, write a basic Java program, and run and execute and continue to learn. So thank you very much again. I'll see you in the next class.